Okay, welcome back to another video everyone. My name is Elite and today we're looking at some Warhammer questions that I was asked for beginners. So we're going to go through those. We only have about 4 or 5, but before we begin, I want to say thank you for all the love and positive responses to my latest shorts. If you haven't seen, I've been posting work in progress updates on a Custodes diorama that I've been working on. I'll throw up a photo here. This is for my first ever painting competition, Arc Open, which is happening this weekend. I'll make a short or a video on what happens there. But again, thank you so much for all the love and support. And if you want to see more of what I paint, I will be sure to post in my shorts. Let me know in the comments below. And if you do enjoy this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave me a comment below about your questions about Warhammer lore or any hobby related stuff. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first question is probably one of the most common ones, which is, for someone who is new to Warhammer lore, where would I recommend beginning? And the answer is very, very varied. So it realistically depends where you want to start and where you're interested. If you're interested in something like the Chaos faction or the Tau faction, you're probably going to want to start there. If you don't know where you want to start, the best recommended place to start would be the Eisenhorn trilogy, which is a trilogy of books that follows an Inquisitor, so it is an Imperial story. I haven't personally read it, but from what I hear, it gets you very accustomed to the universe and introduces you to what you need to know fairly quickly. I personally would recommend the opening trilogy of the Horus Heresy at a bare minimum. My true recommendation is the first 5 books in the Horus Heresy, which is Horus Rising, False Gods, Galaxy of Flame, Flight of the Eisenstein, and finishing with Fulgrim, as basically they explain to you what a Space Marine is, what's happening in the universe, and build you up to what the Heresy actually is. It introduces you to some great characters that you follow throughout the Heresy, as well as just gives, if you like the idea of 40k, this is where it comes from. It's like 40k before the downfall, or at least this is what the downfall becomes, because this takes place before 40k and 30k. Moving on to question number 2. In your opinion, who is the biggest threat in Warhammer? Now, this one's kind of a tricky one because realistically, there are only like 2 or 3 factions that aren't going to be massive threats, and that would be both of the Eldari factions, being the Drukhari and the Eldari, simply because they don't have the numbers to be a galactic threat at this point. They are far too weak and too few in number. Additionally, everyone throws around the Tyranids as the biggest threat because we have only seen the scout fleets and they're already tearing up planets. That is if we are seeing a scout fleet. We don't know. We know that they are extragalactic, but also we don't know if there are more coming. This could be everything that we see. There could be another galaxy that they completely wiped out that they're all coming from. Either way, the Tyranids are a possible biggest threat. The issue is there's too many unknowns regarding how many Tyranids are actually out there. If they are left unchecked, they will absolutely devour the galaxy, but they are being monitored constantly, at least by the Imperium. A similar faction with the Orcs, while they were a massive threat throughout the galaxy during the Great Crusade, which is pre-Horus Heresy, I don't think that they currently have the numbers to deal a big damage to the galaxy as a whole. We saw during the War of the Beast, which takes place shortly after the Horus Heresy, that they were able to assemble a fairly large army and actually like approach Terra, which is a big deal. However, I don't think that they currently can do that, especially because they basically throw away their lives. They don't really like conserve themselves. They just, big fight, go there. That's the Orcs for you. But to answer the question, it's pretty simple that Chaos is the biggest threat. And simply put, as long as there is sentient life fighting or doing things, the Chaos Gods will be around and they will be strong. For example, the strongest Chaos God currently is Khorne, because the galaxy is in an unending war. That will change, because it's called the Great Game, that the 4 Chaos Gods are playing, and they each want to win, but right when they're about to win, they get fucked over. So the game continues. I don't think that there is any defeating the Chaos Gods, because they are more or less concepts, given manifest, or will, or whatever you want to call it. The closest thing that we've seen to their destruction is in the new Scouring book, Ashes of the Imperium, where the death of Horus wounded them so greatly that they retreated deep into the warp. Even though they're still there, they were hurt for a while. So, you know, they're pretty widespread, especially with the Great Rift currently in 40k. But yes, so Chaos is absolutely the biggest threat, and I don't mean like the Space Marine Chaos Legions, I mean Chaos as a whole. Now, for our second to last question, what's your favorite fact? Which is kind of a loaded question. I'm going to give you my favorite fun fact, which is once again about the Orcs. The Orcs are massively psychically powerful, to the point where they can make things go faster based on color. For example, if you paint something red, like a vehicle, it will go faster because the Orc believes it will go faster because of the color. Similarly, you have, I think yellow makes things explosive. And it's things like that. Purple is the color of invisibility, which is why you can never see a purple orc. And green is just the best color. Additionally, this kind of backfires as well, because there's a fun little story where I think it's a commissar, which is basically like a general. They're defending a point from a bunch of orcs, and they run out of ammo, and an orc runs up on him, and he points his gun at him, and yells bang. And the orc dies, because the orc believes the bullets are in the gun, and it believes that it got shot with a real bullet, so it really died. It is both the most funny thing ever and the stupidest thing ever. Now, to wrap out the video, I'm going to answer a little bit of a more complicated question, which is what is a blank versus a psyker? So I'm going to explain both and give a visual representation of this as well. So first things first, let's explain a psyker, because they are far more common and more imperative to Warhammer as a whole. Basically, a psyker is a person that can use their mind to influence the reality via the warp. The warp is basically a realm of imagination. This gives them the ability to read minds, shoot fireballs and lightning. There is tiers to this. Not everyone is going to be able to shoot lightning out of their hands, but it's things like that. You know, you might be able to lift a rock up with your mind. It's also very, very dangerous being a psyker, because those who cannot control their powers usually become gateways for demons to erupt out of their body and take over their body. So an untrained psyker is a very, very dangerous thing, as well as a trained psyker is a very dangerous thing. Additionally to this, you can get Space Marines who are psykers, and they are very, very powerful, but also very dangerous if they lose control. On the other side of this, you have a blank. A blank is someone without a soul. And the reason this is so significant is because everybody that is alive has a piece of the warp in them which resides in their soul, or is their soul. Because when you die, your soul goes into the warp, and it either flutters out like a light going out, or it gets eaten by demons. There's no back or forth of it. And the blank not having a soul means that they cannot die in that, or they can die, but their soul doesn't go to the warp. They don't have a soul. Which means, for some reason, if anything with the warp around them comes near them, it starts to decay and wither. It's like having a null field. Think of it like you have a bubble, and there's rain. If you're in the bubble, the rain's not getting into that bubble. It gets hit by the outside of the bubble. That's what a blank does to the warp. So if, and there's another part to this, where normal people, because they have that little piece of the warp in their soul, if you're a blank and they come near you, they start to feel sick around you. They don't like being around you. They get irritated. And Commissar Kane, who's one of the more famous commissars, actually has a blank as a best friend, and he constantly says how he smells bad. I'm sure the guy smells bad, but that isn't because he actually smells bad. That's most likely because his friend is a blank, and him being around him is just kind of irritating. You know, people don't like to be around blanks. Funny thing is that if you're a certain level of Psyker in power, you can nullify the blank ability and not be affected by it. And the best example of this is the Sisters of Silence, who guard the Emperor, because they are able to be near the Emperor and the Emperor be unaffected by their blank status. So that's the difference between blanks and Psykers. As well as a blank can literally kill a Psyker by being near them. It is unsettlingly powerful, but it's also very, very rare. However, that's it for this video. If you liked, let me know in the comments below. If you have any interesting lore questions or facts you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. I do read them and I do interact when I feel like it's necessary. Apart from that, I will see you in the next video. Bye.